5 matchups for this evening's contest.
Hey folks, thank you all for tuning in tonight to Spuds TV. Tonight the Moorhead Spuds are hosting Fargo North Spartans in wrestling action. We had some JV matches prior to this, and we just finished up introductions, and they of course are doing the coin flip out there. And then we will be on our way starting at 106 pounds. With you tonight, I'm Cole Maring. And of course, Spuds TV, we're sponsored by Muscatel Subaru. Head coach for Moorhead, as many of us know, Jared Fugelberg. And for Fargo North, Brett Mon. Officiating tonight is Alex Maring. And as it is a small world, Alex Maring is my older brother.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 106-pound weight class to begin things off this evening for Fargo North.
Tonight's action should be pretty fun. We're looking to have a pretty full duel tonight. Fargo North looking to show maybe a few opens, but we should have most matches filled. First match at 106 pounds is just starting off right now. For Fargo North, that's Connor Johnson. And for Moorhead, that is Dane Ellingsberg. Connor Johnson in on a single and finishes it for a 2 takedown. That was a really good shot by Connor. And he is trying to break down Ellingson, who is having a good base, and then just got broken down now. Johnson looks to be working off to the side maybe for a half Nelson here. Comes off of it. Ellensburg really has a good base down there. And Johnson's really working hard to break him down. And there Ellensburg goes down again. We are about a minute into the first period. That score is 2-0 in favor of Johnson of North. And Johnson has him on his back, was able to roll him. And it has a head behind the head there. He's holding him on his back, looking for a fall. That is, Johnson has Ellensburg on his back. Ellensburg's able to roll out of it, and Johnson's awarded 3 near fall and stays in control on top. He's working underneath the wrist and has Ellensburg broken down. And they're working on the edge of the mat here. Edge of the mat close to the head table. Ellensburg looks to be working toward his feet and trying maybe a switch, but Johnson remains in control and is able to break him down more. That looks to be our first period. That score is 5-0, Connor Johnson over Dane Ellensburg. According to our scoreboard, which is sponsored by the First Community Credit Union. 5-0 at 106 pounds. Johnson got first choice, and he chose the neutral position to start the second. The second period has just started off here. Johnson is in on a single again, and is able to complete that into a 2-point takedown. Ellensburg is on his feet right away, broken down, and was working a switch. And there's really a lot of scrambling action out here. Connor Johnson gets into a sort of double leg to return him back to the mat. But while he's doing that, he did lock his hands and was caught by the official as clasping. So that's 1 point awarded to Ellensburg for a technical illegal move violation. And there's a minute 30 still in the second. That score is 7-1 in favor of Connor Johnson. Johnson has him broken down and looks to try to be working a sort of maybe butcher. Now he's got a chicken wing in. And the hand got up on the shoulder, and that is a potentially dangerous situation when that hand gets up on the shoulder and a chicken wing and too high up toward the neck. So the referee calls that potentially dangerous. Now Johnson appears to be still on the mat. There's injury time red. Johnson seems to be holding his stomach. Each wrestler gets a minute 30 injury time for each match. Time that if they are injured, they are able to try to come back to their senses, one might say. It's not very often, but if that minute 30 injury time does elapse and the wrestler isn't ready to wrestle, they do forfeit the match. But Johnson is back and wrestling again. Still on top. He's called with a caution for a bad start. And you get to second caution there. Excuse me, no, there was a caution on Ellensburg. So after a little bit of confusion, I think each has a caution coming from the starting position. One for that position, the other for a false start. Johnson breaks Ellensburg down. He's still on top here in the second period, and there is a minute left. He has a 2-on-1, and it looks to be working a sort of tilt out on the edge of the mat. He just really has a lot of forward pressure on Ellensburg. And Ellensburg, while maintaining a base, which is tough in that situation, he's been having a tough time getting up. But here he is. He puts out a switch, and he's reached behind for that shoulder. He reaches behind for the head for a sort of neck wrench, and he sits back down. Ellensburg is working for a reversal or an escape. Connor Johnson just sticks down on those hips, on those legs, and is driving forward in a double and keeps him down. And Connor Johnson is back in control. And Ellensburg was able to convert a 2-point reversal, but in the process of that, Johnson is again taking injury time, appears to be really hurt out there. And looks to be a similar issue maybe in his chest that he might be hurt a little bit. So again, we all know the head coach for Moorhead, that'd be Jared Fuhlerberg. And given that wrestling in these parts is really a small collection, I used to wrestle with Jared and his younger brother Keith. And Jared's older brother Tony is an assistant coach at Fargo Davies High School across the river. The head coach for Fargo North, that is Brett Mon. Brett, of course, being the son of Bucky Mon, long-time, very well-known head coach at NDSU. And Johnson is back. Injury time is cut. Don't know how much time that took because it wasn't up on the scoreboard, but he is back off of that. And he gets his third caution. And you get 2 cautions before there's a point. But Johnson committed his third caution, and that is a point awarded to Ellensburg. The score is 7-4, and there's about 20 seconds left in the second. Ellensburg does a quick turnaround and is able to get into a single. And Connor Johnson has him in a front head position, still in control. And Ellensburg is looking to convert. He's able to grab the hip and push Connor back and scores a 2-point reversal. The score is 7-6. Johnson is still ahead by a point. Johnson of Fargo North is still ahead by a point, but that score is 7-6, and that is our second period. Ellensburg takes down the bottom position to start the third. It is pretty common in most wrestlers to take the bottom position when they have choice, thinking that it is the best position to get an escape, get a point, and then get a takedown. And you're up 3 points, where if you just take neutral and get a takedown, that's only 2 points. Johnson is driving him hard from behind again and has Ellensburg mostly broken down, but Ellensburg does a good job of getting back to his base when he has the opportunity. Hunter Johnson is working below the wrist, below each wrist. And Ellensburg is able to nearly roll him over. But Johnson has still got control. Ellensburg is working on a Peterson almost. Doesn't have quite enough leverage, but he's still working for it. Johnson was able to get his shoulders exposed, and the ref did indicate a 1 count for near fall, but there's no 2 counts, so there's no points awarded. Johnson still on top of Ellensburg. Ellensburg is again going for that roll. And there is 1 minute left here in the third. Johnson's up 7-6. And right as Ellensburg looked to get another reversal, Johnson appeared to be injured, which is his third spot of injury time. They are on the mat checking him out, as coaches are, and the trainer tonight, I think. But because of that, he's either out of injury time or the third stop. Johnson, because of his third stop due to injury, he defaults the match. So Ellensburg is the winner by a default or by a forfeit. By default, I think, would be the terminology. And that is 6 points. So that's put, for the first match, the Spuds are up 6-0. And at 113, North is actually open for Moorhead. Nolan Giddings taking that forfeit. That does make the score 12-0 in favor of Moorhead. And that score can be seen on our First Community Credit Union scoreboard. That brings us to 120 pounds. Out there for Fargo North is Jason Veriano. And for Moorhead, Colton Valliger. Doing a lot of hand fighting out there. Veriano and Valliger, excuse me. Valliger in there for a real deep double leg. And gets the takedown, so makes that score 2-0. But there's a lot of action out there, and he you know, is working for a half Nelson and puts the other hand in two for a full Nelson. That is an illegal move, so that's 1 point for Variano. So that score is 2-1. 2-1 for Valliger. And he is still on top. There's about 1:30 in the first after his takedown. And he puts in a half and it rolls over Variano. And Valliger scores the fall. That was a real deep half. And yeah, Variano very flat. So Colton Volliger gets the pin in 35 seconds, excuse me. With a real deep half Nelson. And he looked very, very strong out there. Our next weight is 126 pounds. For Fargo North, that is Gus Mon. And for Moorhead, it is Lee Ellingsberg at 126 pounds. Lee, I'm assuming, is the older brother of the 106-pounder Dane. And the match has begun, and they are both on their feet in neutral, each working for position. Mon working a 2-on-1. Some call it a Russian. But breaks out of that quick, and they are doing some hand fighting. Neither of the wrestlers really committed. Until now, Mon goes for a fireman's and really dives down into it and spins out of it. Now he ends up in a front head on Ellingsberg, which is a favorable position, but Ellingsberg gets up, and they're both on their feet again. No change. They're hand fighting still on the edge of the mat here. Mon really favoring that 2-on-1. Going for it again. And that is really a sharp move. A wrestler can work all sorts of takedowns from it, especially a high crotch or a single leg. But Ellingsberg breaks out of that, and they're still battling on the edge of the mat. Ellingsberg with his feet pretty much out, but Ellingsberg in for a real good high crotch. But Mon is able to sprawl, and after a few different sprawls actually gets him down, and now is working the front head again. No change in position. Mon has a front head on Ellingsberg. Mon is trying to put the head in the hole and spin behind, but Ellingsberg works up. And there's no change still. 0-0 at this 126-pound match, featuring Lee Ellingsberg for Moorhead and Gus Mon for Fargo North. There's 31 seconds left in the first period. And that score again is 18-0 for Moorhead after that last pin. Each wrestler is still working for position. Mon seems to change level there, but doesn't really go in for a fully committed shot. And they are locked up. Mon goes in for another fireman's here and is really turning the corner since around, and the referee awards him 2 points takedown. And the Moorhead coaches indicate that they don't agree that that is a takedown. And the head coach is talking with the official at the head table, trying to argue if it was 2 points or not. Again, that was 2 points awarded to Mon as he was able to turn the corner on his firemen's that he had broken out of. And the referee decided that he had control and awarded 2 points. So that is 2-0. It's Ellingsberg's choice. He defers a decision, which is a common thing when you get first decision. And Mon takes neutral to start the second. Interestingly, given he's the third Fargo North wrestler to wrestle, he is the second one to choose neutral when it is his choice, which isn't uncommon, but it's not the most common either. The score is 2-0, Mon over Ellingsberg, and we're in the second period. They are both up, and they were hand fighting. Mon goes in for another fireman's and converts it to a double leg and lifts Ellingsberg into the air and brings him down for a takedown. And he's got him on his back, working an inside cradle. The referee is counting near fall. He really brought him down good, and maybe now he's converting it into a half Nelson. Mon converting it into a half Nelson. And Ellingsberg is really putting up a good fight to stay off his shoulders. But it is really difficult when the other wrestler gets you in that position. It can be very difficult to work out of that position and even keep from being pinned. And in fact, that is a pin. Mon scores the fall against Ellingsberg after 3 minutes and 3 seconds. That was in the second period. After 3 minutes and 3 seconds, he gets the fall. And Monsfall makes that 18-6 for the team score in favor of the Spuds. The coaches are up at the head table. I don't know if they're trying to figure out who's wrestling here.
For the Fargo North Spartans, Danny Matatakwa. And from Moorhead, Evan Fancannell.
And 132 pounds for Fargo North, that is Danny Matatakwa, and for Moorhead, it is Evan Fancannell. Matatakwa gets Fancannell in a front head and is trying to turn the corner and tries to throw him by, but Fancannell is able to stand up off of that rather than get spun behind. Matatakwa works a 2-on-1 and brings it down to a single leg with a really good shot here. Fancannell is fighting it. He's got a whizzer in. Matatakwa is lifting him into the air with a single. Not the most common of returns. He's working toward it and tries to bring him down and maybe work toward a double. But now he's got both arms under the leg and lifting it up. And he does score a 2-point takedown against Fancannell as he is able to convert. Evan Fancannell was a state qualifier last year for Moorhead, along with two other wrestlers, both seniors, and Evan Fancannell, the returning state qualifier on the team. That is 2-0, Matatakwa over Fancannell. We're still in the first period, about a minute in. I'd like to once again say thank you to our sponsor, Muscatel Subaru. They make Spuds TV possible and make it possible that we're able to give a video and audio stream for these different events. Matatakwa puts in a cradle, an inside cradle, and has Fancannell on his back. Fancannell is really fighting hard and gets down, but Matatakwa still has the lock on and turns him over again, looking for a pin. Matatakwa has Fancannell on his back with an inside cradle. The referee is down there, and the referee does call the pin. That is with 26 seconds left in the first, so that pin was in a minute and 24 seconds. Danny Matatakwa gets the fall against Evan Fancannell. And that was at 132 pounds, and on our first Community Credit Union scoreboard, that brings the team score 18-12 in favor of the Spuds. Every match has been a pin, and one was a default, making every match worth 6 points. And 138 pounds for Fargo North here is Henry Mon, and for Moorhead, Arjun Shaheen. They're both going upper body here to start the first, and Shaheen pancakes him back down for a 2-point takedown and lets Mon up for an escape. So it's 2-1 Shaheen, and Mon is going in with double underhooks, is really threatening a throw. Shaheen's playing it safe and working, and pancakes again, real big throw. Shaheen puts on Mon for another 2 takedown, and now he's getting the near fall with it too. So that scores 4-1 and gets 3 near fall, making it 7-1, and he lets Mon up for an escape and out of bounds. That score is 8-2, and there's a minute 24 still left in the first. And that is Shaheen is up 8-2 against Mon. Mon goes down for a shot, but Shaheen gets a real good sprawl and spins around for a 2-point takedown. Shaheen lets Mon up for a point, and Mon is back down on the single leg and trying to convert. And Shaheen really over-muscling him here and throws another pancake for a 2-point takedown, and he is getting the near fall, and he looks to be going for the pin here. And he does get the pin. In a minute and 2 seconds, Arjun Shaheen pins Henry Mon. That is 6 points for Moorhead. And that score is 24-12. Getting a pin is the highest point score for a team. A pin is 6 points for your team, followed by a technical fall at 5 points, a major decision at 4 points, and a decision at 3 points. Now at 145 pounds for Fargo North, Chase Hansen, and for Moorhead, Will Borud. Borud, an 8th grader, and Hansen, a senior. So a pretty big discrepancy in their ages here. Hansen goes in for a single leg and brings it out of bounds, and it does go out of bounds 15 seconds into the first. Each wrestler kind of playing it safe here. They're locked up here, and Borud goes for a high crotch and does convert it to a double. Borud tries to bring it down, and Hansen converts it to a takedown. It's looking for an inside cradle, it looked like, but leaves it for the takedown, and that is 2 for him, and Borud gets an escape for 1, so they're both up here, and the score is 2-1 in favor of Hansen. And they are out of bounds again. There's a minute and 15 left in the first. We're only 45 seconds in. And for 1 takedown, 1 escape, it seems like there's been a lot more action than that out here. Borud shoots in on a pretty good shot, but Hansen gets a good sprawl on him, is able to spin behind for a 2-point takedown, bringing that score to 4-1. Hansen is out front. He's out front doing kind of a rough let go of Borud, and Borud does get an escape. The referee awards him an escape. And Hansen shoots, gets a reshot right away off that, and gets a takedown for 2 points. That score is 6-2 for Hansen. Hansen's got a ball and chain tilt here. The referee has put down some near fall, and it looks like he's indicating that it will be 2 near fall if Hansen can't convert it to more. But he still has the lock, so it hasn't been awarded yet. And Hansen's going around for a chin drop. And he's really spinning around trying to get leverage against that exposed shoulder. And he does. Hansen is getting more near fall here. And he's got a neck wrench of sorts with a leg Turk in as well. But time elapses in the first, and he gets his 3 near fall. That brings Hansen up 9-2 over Borud. Borud takes neutral to start the second. And we're back at it. Hansen gets an ankle pick for a 2-point takedown. Really a sharp takedown, and now he's working a cradle on the outside. And he brings him over his body and gets the cradle over, and he is getting near fall here. Hansen has Borud on his back in a cradle. The referee is down looking to see if both shoulders are in contact with the mat for a pin. And Hansen lets Borud off his back for a 3-point near fall. And that score is now 14-2. A reminder, if your score is 8 or more than the opponents at the end of the match, that is a major decision. But if you get ahead by 15 in the match, that is a technical fall, and that is 5 points for the team score. And Hansen gets the 3-point near fall with the cradle again, and that does bring the score 17-2. And that is 15 points in the lead, and Hansen gets the technical fall for Fargo North. That is 5 T points, not 6. And that brings the score 24-17 in favor of the Spuds. That is the team score. And that was our 145-pound match. We'll be looking to start our 52-pound match soon. I'd like to say a special shout out to someone who may be viewing us tonight, Sam Fisnick. I hope you're doing well. Jared indicated to me that you might be watching. I hope you're living life down there. And we're starting the 152-pound match. There's Josh Worrell and Zach Fancano, respectively, for North and Moorhead. And that goes out of bounds as Worrell takes a shot, and Fancano, that's a good sprawl, and breaks him onto his hip out of bounds. This is 152 pounds between Zach Fancano for Moorhead and Joshua Worrell for North. Fancano is down on a single, and Worrell has a good sprawl. Fancano really has that leg tight and is drawing it in and working it. He gets Worrell on his butt, and he hooks the leg. And Fancano converts the single leg to a 2-point takedown. And right away, he puts that leg in like he was really looking to do it. And that is common with some wrestlers, where that is their riding technique, where they put a leg in on top, they try to work a Turk. Now he's reaching across the opposite arm to break him down. Worrell is on his base, which is good. It's really hard to get out to do anything when someone has the leg in and you're broken down. Now Fancano puts the second leg in, and that does indeed break Worrell down. He still has one leg in, and it looks like he's trying to work a cradle and hanging over the body. Worrell does a sit out, But Fancanel does lock up the cradle and brings him back for back points. Back points are being counted. Fancanel has a cradle over Worrell. Worrell's really kicking out of it and putting Fancanel in a bad spot, or in a tougher spot, but Fancanel does spin back around. He still has his lock, so the near fall hasn't been awarded yet. And Worrell is doing a good job on bottom of fighting out of it. Fancanel does have a tight cradle, but Fancanel does let go of that grip, and 3 points are awarded. That brings that score 5-0. Fancanel over Worrell. There's only 10 seconds left in the first year, and Fancanel has another cradle locked up. Looks like he may have gotten 2 near fall, and he did indeed get 2 near fall there with that cradle. And that brings it 7-0. Yeah, some wrestlers, they can be very tough with that cradle on top. It's very reminiscent of a wrestler at North Dakota who got 3rd at the D1 Nationals a few years back, Steve Monk. He would ride a leg and he would work a cradle, and he just was real good at that. And Fancanel is very reminiscent of this. Second period starts. Worrell takes neutral to start the second. And that score is 7-0, Fancanel over Worrell. They're both working position both up. Neither of them is committed to a shot or a snap or anything too significant here, but each of them is working for a position, and they are locked up. Fancanel does change level and go in for a shot. Gets Worrell on his butt, and he scores the 2-point takedown with a real quick and deep shot. Worrell does a sit-out, and Fancanel is working for that cradle again, and he does get it locked. Now he sits him back, and he's scoring back points. The ref did get a 2 count off. That will be 2 back points unless Fancanel can convert it to more. He lets go of the lock, and the 2 back points are awarded. Fancanel is up 11-0 over Worrell. There's about a minute left here in the second. And Fancanel is really riding tough. He's a really tough top wrestler here. Worrell is working to keep on his base, but that can be tough when someone's real good at that cradle because it just brings you that much closer to someone getting that cradle locked up. Really a tough position to be in. Fancanel got a leg in and working for that cradle again. And he does get it locked, and he sits Worrell back. No back points awarded, they just rolled over. Fancanel still has the lock on, and he's trying to lean Worrell back. You can see him exerting himself out there. There's 30 seconds left in the second. And he lets go of the lock. And Worrell is broken down, and Fancanel is riding real tough on top. Worrell works back up, and Fancanel immediately puts that leg back in. Gets that cradle locked up again. Brings Worrell back, and he is getting back points here. This Josh Worrell who is wrestling, he has an older brother, Caleb Worrell, who I used to wrestle back in high school. And Fancanel, before the second period elapses, he gets a 3-point near fall. And the score is 14-0, Fancanel. Excuse me, in the second period, Fancanel chose neutral. Now Worrell, or excuse me, I think Fancanel is choosing top here. This would be a position to choose top when you're at 14-0 because if you're anywhere else, before you're able to pin the opponent, it will be stopped for a technical fall. So when you're on top, you're able to bring the opponent back to his back and try to go for the pin, which is more team points, 6 as opposed to 5 for the technical fall. Fancanel has Worrell broken down. He doesn't look to be going for the cradle as hard. It's not always the easiest thing to pin somebody in a cradle. There are better locks for that, but it is possible, but he looks to be maybe working for something else. He has the leg back in, and he does look to be trying to lock up the cradle. Fancanel. And he's on top here in the third. Scores 14-0. And he gets the cradle locked up and gets a 1 count with no further, so no points awarded there. But he still has the lock on. Worrell able to break the lock and stand his base, but Fancanel puts that leg back in and locks up the cradle. And now Fancanel gets the 2 count, 3 count. If he lets go of that, that will be a technical fall. And he does. 2 points awarded for near fall. That brings Fancanel up 16-0 over Josh Worrell in the third period with 42 seconds left. That is a technical fall for Zach Fancanel. That's 5 points for Moorhead. The team score is now 29-17 for the Spuds. We have a bit of a mix-up down here. We're at 160 pounds, and I think that it's Harper Schultz for North and AJ Demo for Moorhead. The time wasn't set to 2 minutes for the first period here before the match started. Sometimes those scoreboard computers aren't always easy to work with, and when things are moving fast, it's tough to get it all set up before the match starts, and that seems to be what's happened here. Seem to be having trouble, and they're letting the time run down now. Trying to get the computer set up to begin this 160-pound match between Harper Schultz of North and AJ Demo of Moorhead. They are still working down there. I'd like to give another shout out to our sponsor, Muscatel Subaru, making Spuds TV possible. And it looks like the scoreboard has been set back up here. And the wrestlers are geared up to wrestle. The referee is going out there. And we're off. AJ Demo immediately goes in for a front head. But Schultz is able to spin him by for a quick 2-point takedown. And the score is 2-0. They go right out of bounds 14 seconds in. Schultz would have been on top, but he elects for neutral, just letting Demo up before the time starts again. So the score is 2-1, Schultz against Demo in the first period here. Still early. Each wrestler working for hands. Demo getting a snap on, but Schultz working his head back up. And Schultz looking to work for position and shoots a really deep double leg. Not able to convert, and the wrestlers go out of bounds. Demo had a real good sprawl there as well. Good shot against good defense. There's 1:20 left in the first. Schultz is back in for a single leg. Nearly right away off the whistle. He's bringing that leg up. And he is muscling Demo down. But as he goes down, Demo is able to maintain pretty good position. And now Schultz brings the leg back up for a single. But now finally drives him down to convert for a 2 takedown. Bringing the score 4-1 in favor of Schultz with about 1 minute left in the first. And Schultz works a cheap tilt. But he does have that arm. He's got a sort of chicken wing, and across the deep waist, he's got that wrist. And you're able to get a pretty nice tilt. And he gets a 2 near fall off of that. That is a very easy, relatively easy way to get back points, but nearly an impossible way to pin somebody. Tilts are very common in college wrestling. Now Schultz locks up a cradle and brings Demo right over. And he does get a 5 count, but Demo breaks the hold, and now Schultz is awarded 3 near fall. Demo is able to stand up, but Schultz had a single leg and does bring him back down to the mat, and Demo is broken down. Schultz really putting a lot of pressure back into that back, making it tough to work up to a person's base. And that is the end of our first period. Schultz up 9-1. Harper Schultz up 9-1 over AJ Demo. And Schultz takes down to start the second period. And Schultz gets a hand and stands up right away and is able to get an escape nearly right away. 5 seconds in. Now each wrestler is locked up with an over-under. And Schultz converts it to push Demo over for a 2-point takedown right onto his back, and he's getting back points. They are nearly out of bounds. Schultz trying to convert it into something more, and Demo fighting it off very well. And Demo gets his shoulders not exposed anymore and works out of bounds. 3 points were counted. 5 near falls counted. 4 3-points, that is, for Harper Schultz, and that score is 15-1. Again, a point away from a technical fall. There's 1:26 left in the second. Schultz has Demo down. Schultz is riding really tough, but Demo is making a really good effort to make good escape sequences. But Schultz is able to keep up with them. Schultz working on a cradle, doesn't quite get it. And he does a chop breakdown to bring Demo down onto his left side. Now Schultz appears to be working a butcher and is maybe actually forcing that into an inside cradle, or a near side cradle again, and he does. He gets the cradle, and he's getting back points. Given that he's up 15-1, this will either end up with a pin or a technical fall. And Schultz still working, trying to pin Demo here. Demo's able to roll off, and Schultz lets go of the lock, gets his 3-point near fall, and wins the match by technical fall, 18-1. So at 160 pounds, Harper Schultz wins by technical fall over AJ Demo. That is 5 points for the team score. And with that 5 points in the team score, that brings Fargo North to 21, but Moorhead is still at 29, according to our First Community Credit Union scoreboard. At 170 pounds, for Fargo North is Billy Ward, a 7th grader, and for Moorhead, Jack Olstead, an 8th grader. Billy Ward shoots in for a takedown and gets a 2 takedown with a double leg. And he works a real quick half. He's got a real deep, but isn't able to convert it to any back points. So it's broken down, now working to his base, and the wrestlers are out of bounds. Right as Ward puts a leg in. We're a minute 33 in as Ward is up 2-0. Then the official gets him off wrestling again after going out of bounds. Ward has Olstead broken down, really putting a lot of pressure into his back with his shoulder. And he's going for a cheap tilt here, and he does get a 2 count by the referee. He's got him loaded up on his hips, and it is very difficult when you're the defending wrestler, the guy in bottom. If someone gets you in that position, it feels like it should be easy to get out, but it is just hard to get out. And Ward gets 3 near fall with that, bringing the score 5-0 with that tilt. There's a minute left in the first period here still. And Billy Ward is off to the side, trying to work an arm bar and putting the other arm over the head, maybe to really engineer a sort of half Nelson. And Olstead is trying to fight it off. But Ward with that arm back behind works actually into an inside cradle here. And is inside the legs and has Olstead on his back. He was getting near fall and lets him off his back for 3 near fall awarded to Ward there. After that armbar half was converted to a cradle. Ward was going for another tilt, but they work themselves out of bounds. Olstead is still down against Ward. 17 seconds left still in the first. Ward is riding tough and breaks down Olstead nearly right away. And now he's working a chicken wing out there. And Olstead is doing the right thing about turning against it, but it looked like Ward just had a little bit too much. He does turn him over and gets a 5 count by the ref. 3 near fall is awarded right at the end of the period. The end of the first period, that is. And that brings Billy Ward score up to 11 over Olstead of Moorhead. Olstead's choice, he defers decision. Ward takes neutral to start the second. Really a common theme here with these North wrestlers is taking neutral when it's their choice. Ward right away gets in on a double leg and finishes it for 2. Nearly off the whistle, was able to get below the hands and shoot a nice shot there. Olstead's broken down and Ward is trying to work him into some sort of pinning combination, but they go out of bounds. Or 18 seconds into the second. Ward breaks down Olstead again and now has a chicken wing in. Once again, Olstead is trying to turn away from it, chicken wing with that wrist. Ward works him over. That is a tough one to fight, a chicken wing, if someone gets your arm behind. Oof, and Ward gets the fall. 2 minutes and 32 seconds in, 32 seconds into the second. Ward gets the fall from Moorhead. And that is 6 points, and that brings the score 29-28 after the 170-pound match. And when you see a close score like that, 29-28, it really shows you how important it is to get every team point that you can. So that is, if you can get a pin opposed to a tech fall, 6 points over 5 points, a wrestler really should go for that because these team scores, oftentimes, are closer than you think. That was a 170-pound match. We had a little bit of blood on the mat that had to get cleaned up, and we'll be going into 182. At 182 pounds, Fargo North is open. Taking the forfeit is David Krabenhoft from Moorhead. Now, if you forfeit, that's an automatic 6 points for the team. So 6 points awarded to Moorhead. The score is 35, excuse me, 35-28. And I think that North is also open at 195.
Next up in our 195-pound weight class, once again, Fargo North Spartans take on
Yes, Fargo North is open at 195. They don't show anybody.
for Moorhead, Ashton Larry.
Ashton Larry takes the forfeit at 195 pounds for Moorhead. And that's another 6 points. And now the team score is a little further out of reach for North. In fact, it is too far out of reach for them this duel with only 2 matches remaining. 41-28. So while the duel is a foregone conclusion, we still have 2 weight classes still to wrestle.
Once again, for the North Spartans, they are open, so winner by
220.
Jackson Goda.
But in fact, at 220, North is open again. Taking the forfeit from Moorhead is Jackson Goda. At his 6 points, now the duel score is 47-28, Moorhead to North. And there is only 1 weight class left.
Next up in the 185-pound weight class, for the Spartans, Mike Jones and for Moorhead.
And there is a 285-pound match for North. That is Mike Jones out there. And for Moorhead, Jaden Coley. And the match is off at 285 pounds. At these upper weights, you really see a lot more upper body work than leg shots, although you do see some wrestlers change level and go in for a single or high crouch or double, but it's just not as common. The wrestlers are very aggressive out there. Jones for North and Coley for Moorhead. And they are tied up here. Each one working for position. And really a lot of action. We are a minute 15 in. Each wrestler is still working for position, both up. Jones is working for a 2-on-1. Coley is keeping good position and trying to tie up. I think he's trying to get a good snap down on him. You do see that a lot at these upper weights, as some of the best takedowns are a snap down. You're able to get a person into a front head and you're able to spin behind. But each wrestler is still fighting for position here. They are one-on-one with each other. Sometimes to really get a good shot, you have to make an angle against the other wrestler. But that is easier said than done, as most things in wrestling are. Coley is working an underhook here, and he's converting it down to a single. Now he's committing to the single, and he's driving toward it. Jones has a whizzer in, and Jones is able to sprawl out of it. Now Jones has Coley in a front head, and Jones does a spin behind. And that is a 2-point takedown for Jones with only 10 seconds left in the first. We are nearly done with the first period. Jones has Coley broken down. And just as Coley works back up to his base, the period ends. Coley defers decision to start the second. Jones takes neutral. And that score is 2-0. Mike Jones over Jaden Coley. Coley is a senior. Jones is a sophomore. Each wrestler working for position. Coley has Jones' head down and does bring him down into a front head, which is very favorable for scoring. But Mike Jones does have Coley's arm, and it looks like he's not letting go of it. Oh, there he goes. Coley does spin behind. 4-2 takedown there. There's a minute 25 left in the second. And Coley's just scored a takedown. And the score is 2-2. Coley's got it off to the side, got an ankle, and bowls him over onto his back. And Coley gets the pin. 53 seconds into this second. It fallen 2 minutes and 53 seconds. Jaden Coley for Moorhead. Really a good effort on top there by Coley. Jones looking strong, but just got caught out on bottom. And that was our last match of tonight's duel. With that pin, the Spuds Team scores 53 to Fargo North's 28. So the winner of that duel is the Moorhead Spuds. Really a good effort by all wrestlers. We had a lot of pins tonight. More tech falls than I've seen as well at a lot of high school events. And really good wrestling. Good to see the Moorhead wrestlers back after their COVID event. I know that they had a duel or two where they weren't able to fully man a varsity team with their guys. And there is more discussion on the mat. I don't know if they're planning on doing any exhibition matches here. But we will see, because I haven't been made aware of any. Again, thank you all for tuning in tonight to Spuds TV to watch and listen. Moorhead really put on a good show. Really put on some good wrestling, and there were some very good matches here. A lot of good technique and a lot of good, interesting situations everyone put on for us. I'd like to thank again, here before we leave for the night, our sponsor, Muscatel Subaru, and our scoreboard sponsor, First Community Credit Union. All these sponsors, they make these sports possible. They make Spuds TV possible and make it able that we're able to stream these events, both the visual and audio. The Moorhead wrestlers are re-entering the gym here. And it looks like we may have a JV match or two following the duel.